Welcome to the Performance Banker Podcast. You'll hear banking industry experts providing unique insights and expertise to help bankers achieve higher performance, obtain outstanding results, and gain a competitive advantage. Here's your host, Tanya Gossage. Hello, this is Jeffery Yarbrough standing in for Tanya Gossage for today's podcast. In banking, relationships are inevitable. Customers come into the branch or call on the phone, and we get to know them. They get to know us. They become a friend of sorts. I don't know about you and your relationships with your good friends, but my friends are full of unsolicited advice. So am I sometimes. We want our friends to have the best and make smart decisions, so we recommend things to them. Then why is it so hard to sell to the people we call friends while at work? I know it's taboo to talk about money in social settings, but when you work at a bank, it is literally your job to talk about money and finances. You get to be somewhat nosy and get into their business to a degree. Of course, we're always professional and confidential. However, we tend to have these types of conversations with our really good friends outside of work anyway, and then we find it difficult or challenging to have money-related discussions with our customers. What is it that keeps bankers from essentially doing their job and developing these deeper customer relationships? Well, it's that word, sales. They feel like they don't want to be shady, sleazy salespeople. So in response to that, I would ask if they feel like they're shady people. If they say no, then why do they think they would be shady salespeople? It doesn't work like that. Now, I'm not going to go into talking about how to sell today or the sales cycle. However, as all bankers listening know, more products and services equals deeper customer relationships. So I am going to go over 3 common concerns regarding sales that bankers have and how they can be overcome. Number 1, I think service is more important than sales. How many times have we heard that? Service is defined as the action of helping or doing work for someone. Sales is defined as the exchange of something for money. That means that when bankers are doing service activities, they are completing various actions in exchange for the customer keeping their money at the bank. In other words, each service activity is a sales activity. Now, I know that in reality, sales and service are very different. My point is that when we look at sales from a different perspective, we can see that asking questions to understand how the customer uses their money and then recommending ways to make banking easier or ways to prevent fees, whatever it is really about providing value and excellent customer service, not what you might think of as sales. Number 2, I can't sell. I'm not a salesperson. No one is born knowing how to sell. Selling is a formula that is learned. And as I said earlier, I'm not going to go into how to sell or the sales cycle. However, I do want to talk about one trait that good or great salespeople have. That's curiosity. When you're getting to know someone, whether it's at a social/networking event or it's someone sitting across the desk from you, getting curious about that other person will put them at ease. I know I've heard many interesting details or things about people while working in banking. From the private details of their life to family arguments to the loss of loved ones, the person sitting across from you has a story. And when you're curious, there are no dumb questions. So pretend like the person has a mystery you're trying to solve. And the only way to do that is to ask one more question, and then one more, and one more. Number 3, I don't have time for a weekly sales meeting. Most sales meetings are looked at as the time to review numbers. Did you meet last week's goal? What's this week's goal? Are you on track for the month, etc.? I want to challenge you to think about sales meetings differently. Do not go over numbers in the meeting. Now, before you stop listening, let me explain. Salespeople need help on what to say to get to the numbers. The numbers will get better when they get better at the conversations. Face-to-face time with your team is valuable. Don't waste that time going over something that you can get from a report. Instead, ask them what the top objection they heard last week was. Then spend 3 to 5 minutes doing a quick role play on how to overcome the objection. Be sure to go round robin and include everyone in the roles plays from week to week. My point is that sales meetings can be very useful in upskilling your team. So schedule one-on-one time to go over the pipeline. Your team as a whole benefits more from hearing how to interact with the customer instead of whether or not their peer is on track for the month. Customer relationships require different skills today than they have in the past. That goes for banking and every other industry too, which means that employees' skills must be different. Employees want to be listened to. They want to learn how to be adaptable and collaborative. Build a partnership with the employees. Talk to them, find out what's important to them in their life. In turn, they'll do the same with you and your customers. Now, before long, you'll see increased customer satisfaction and retention in addition to increased sales numbers. Now, I know I went over those 3 things pretty quickly, so listen to this episode again in a day or two to make sure you got all the little bits of knowledge. To recap, I offered 3 things to work on that will help you deepen your relationship with your customers. Number 1, look at sales as another type of service activity. The second, get curious. And the third is to use sales meetings to discuss interactions instead of numbers. My name is Jeffery Yarbrough, and I've enjoyed spending this time with you today. Be sure to leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. And if you have a topic you'd like us to discuss, send an email to info@gossageperformanceconsulting.com. Thanks for listening. Be sure to download and subscribe wherever you get your shows. Find more content on our YouTube channel. Link is in the show notes. This podcast is sponsored by GossagePerformanceConsulting.com.